very good day to all of you. In Malaysia, it's noon. It's 12:20. I don't know whether I'm able to make it or not. Okay. For today, I'll be talking about thriving in the post-pandemic, uh, online education best practices. As we go on, you can see now the pandemic has brought about a life-changing consequences for nearly all aspects of human life. These include businesses, academics, work, office work, and personal interactions. Okay, so we can see a lot of things are now changing in how we do our daily activities. Okay, so this has brought about so many new things that we have actually need to adapt as the new norm, such as lockdown, less physical meetings, social distancing, smaller size crowd, uncertainties, and wearing face masks. So these are all the things that we are actually at the moment trying to uh, absorb and make it as part of our lives so that we are able to live in this sort of pandemic will turn to be endemic comfortably. Okay, so such as lockdown. We can see now lockdown is actually one of the best ways to stop the spread of the virus. And then if we talk about physical meeting, we need to have less physical meeting because the lesser the number of physical interaction, the lesser the possibility of being infected. And of course, when we have to meet physically, social distancing is something that we have to actually adhere to in terms of making sure that the virus is not going to be spread easily. And of course, when it comes to social distancing, the number of crowd that are allowed, okay, number of crowd that is allowed for a particular period of time is going to be smaller. Okay, and then of course there will also be uncertainties because you never know who are there with you, whether they are negative or positive, whether they're being infected or not. And sometimes, today our office is open and tomorrow it might be closed, right? So these are the things that one of the some of the examples of the uncertainties that we have to actually live with lately. And of course, the none other than the face mask. Okay, we have to wear the face mask as this is one of the ways to actually hinder, okay, the virus from being transmitted from our mouth while we are now when we are talking to the others physically. Okay, and as I said just now, the pandemic has actually affected many areas, and academic institution is not actually being ruled out. So academic institutions have been impacted, particularly in the forms of disruption of the ways classes are being handled, and of course the interaction with students and the teachers are now being conducted in a very different way. And of course, we can see cancellation of in-person classes, whereby once we are not permitted to have these face-to-face classes, we need to opt for online classes or online instruction. And some countries even close their borders to foreigners to make sure that the virus is not being spread easily. And of course, to a certain extent, you can see some schools or universities or colleges have actually closed their promises that to make sure that the infection, the virus is not being spread easily. Okay, and of course, from the three mentioned elements, we can see that this has posed a very difficult challenge to the teachers and the students in the learning and teaching process. But like it or not, whether it's going to be difficult, whether it's going to be hard to accept, this is something we have actually to do at the moment because of this is how we have to live our life in this pandemic that now engulfing the world actually. It is in fact affected everyone globally. Okay, so to certain extent also we can see higher education institutions were quick to replace face-to-face lectures with online learning. So this closure affected learning and examination as well as the safety and legal status of the international students of their host country. As I said just now, some countries have closed their borders to foreigners. Therefore, some international students might not, or foreign students might not be able to go back to their campuses on that. And of course, with online learning, we can see the way classes are being handled is different. The way assessments are being conducted are also going to be very different. That's why now from the final year of the final exam, most of the university, as for example, at my university at the moment, we are now implementing what we call the final assessment rather than the final exam. So such assessment can be in the forms of, assignment, final assignment to be presented, pre-recorded and presented online asynchronously, so that the lecturers will be able to make some assessment or grading in terms of the performance and also the content of whatever they have presented. And of course, to make relevant, university will need to reinvent their learning environment so that digitalization expands and complements students, teachers, and other relationships. So this is the thing at the moment, digitalization of not just academic institution but almost everything. Now we have to actually live with digitalization of communication, um, I have to say commerce, and almost everything. Okay, so students from privileged backgrounds supported by their parents and eager and are able to learn could find their ways past closed school doors to alternate learning alternative. Meaning now we may actually see some students are not able to go back to the school or colleges physically due to this pandemic. And of course, sometimes we may open just 1 or 2 days, then we need to close again because of there are cases, and not just cases, but there are quite a number of cases registered or detected at the one particular premise. So that is why to Synchronous it needs to be closed down. So those who are from the disadvantaged background often remains shut out from their school shut down, meaning they are not able to have some privileges, probably because they might not have the internet connection, or they might not be able to get uh, uh, educated online due to their disadvantaged background. So the only way forward actually at the moment is actually communication. We have to make sure that we need to stay in touch with our students to make it sure or easier for them to keep track of their expectation and their responsibility, and then to gauge the students' consistent presence, whereby by communicating with the students regularly, we know the students are there, because sometimes we know while we are teaching online, the student might um, switch on their video, but they might not switch on their camera. Okay, so we do not know whether the students are there or not. And of course, clarity in communication will have to be particularly important, as we need to give clear instruction in terms of what other students have to do so that they can actually complete whatever needs to be done in terms of assignment, etc. Okay. And this, of course, builds trust and relationship and opens the door for them to reach out to you when they need the support and further clarification. So clear communication is important for between the lecturers and the students during the pandemic, because this will make sure that they are able to keep in touch, stay connected, and still learn and reap the benefits of the learning process as how the conventional learning method or approach is being done. Okay. Next, we need to build relationship with our students. And some students, we can see they are very traumatized with the event because we can see some of their friends suffering. Some of their friends may be able to be infected, and they know physically how the suffering is and all that. So, having gone through a lot of emotional experiences, this would have to be very important for us to make sure that we don't simply treat students as okay, they are all students. No, we have to actually look at them individually. They are trying to get back to normal life, so we have to actually know the students individually so that we can actually bring back the confidence in them so that they can actually face the world. So getting to know them as individuals, whether in office hours, scheduled appointments, or relative reflective work in the classroom, will help you understand how they are doing. This is very important. That's why it is related to the communication just now. Communication has to be very clear. This is to be up with relationships so that students will not be bogged down with trauma of the experience that they have gone through and they have faced during the pandemic, and still during this area, whereby they may have friends, relatives, sometimes parents who are being infected with this thing, and some may have actually lost their loved ones. So this is very important. So when students feel they are seen, meaning they are being they have that personal touch with us, it will be easier for them to settle down, and they have more confidence, and they know that help is there. There is a background, or there is what called the support group or support to what they are now facing. Okay. Next, so we have to actually be flexible, meaning online teaching requires all parties to absorb a wide range of circumstances. Many instructors need to be more flexible about assignment. In this case, this is meant that we may need to give students more extension, more relaxed in terms of instruction or rubrics, so that we are not actually pressuring them too much, because sometimes they may not get the connection there and then, and they cannot be synchronously connected due to technical problems and so on. So we have to actually give them some leeway in terms of what are the things that they can absorb and all that, just to make sure that they are not that being pressured. Okay. In some cases, this meant allowing students to shape their assignment. This may mean being open to deadline extension. Students learning remotely may have to face conditions that is not conducive for learning, and of course, keep focused on the learning goals that are essential and open to flexibility. Meaning that, or if you have one class and you may have 10, objective to achieve on that day, but try not to make sure that you achieve that 10. Just minimize and choose which one is appropriate for that particular online learning, so that student will still reap the benefit of that online learning experience. Okay. And of course, this is very important. Treat students as they are, as I said just now, individually. They are a person, a human being. They have, they have the feelings, they have the emotion, and they have gone through a lot. So need to make sure that we understand their background, because different students will come from different background, will have gone through different kind of experience, and this will of course impact them differently emotionally. So that is why this is very important. Educators need to be aware that in the midst of trying to learn, students may be carrying a great deal from outside class, because some students may have lost their loved ones, parents to a certain extent due to the pandemic, and they have to actually succumb to this life pressure, but they have to actually perform. So we need to understand this. Look at them as a person, not as a student, where we can just ask them, okay, do this and do that. No, now treat them as individuals, okay, human being with emotional requirements that they need to actually fulfill, so that they can be happy, or else we can have more mental health issues among students. Okay. And in the end, your teaching has to be inclusive. What inclusive meaning? uh, we have to actually make sure that this teaching has to actually specifically tailored to our students, be it individually or in group. Okay, because they are now uh, having a difficult time, and they have different requirements. So need to be inclusively looking to who are we teaching at the moment, not just a group of students, but a group of individuals who are now facing a lot of problem emotionally, technically, and of course these have to be very, very sort of professionally addressed. Okay, or else our teaching will be a failure. And lastly, synchronous and asynchronous teaching style. So not all online teaching has to be synchronous, because there are students who might not be able to get connected at the moment we have our class online. So we need to pre-record our teaching, so that students who cannot get the access during our online classes live, or at least synchronously, can always access the material when they have the time, or when the technical problem have actually been resolved. Okay. And to conclude, online learning is not going to be the mainstay, but it is going to be the main approach during this pandemic, as long as still the pandemic is still around. So not exactly as mix of both approaches is needed to successfully meet the needs of all students. It's more on the hybrid, but we can see uh, more online classes will be carried out due to the situation at the moment, and of course. Online will have to be one of the possible solutions to the problem that we are now facing at the moment. Okay, so with that, thank you. Have a nice day to all of you.